Hello everyone, welcome back. So in our WebDriver IO series today we are going to see how we can execute the WebDriver IO test cases into the Docker containers. So far we have seen how to execute the test cases by using the your local system, and then we have seen that how to execute that by using the GitHub Actions, and then we have seen that how to really execute our test cases into the browser stack. Now the browser stack and GitHub Actions are pretty much the CI/CD environment where we redirect our test cases into a different system, right? Now the same thing, there is another way by using the Dockers. Now we have already discussed in our separate session that what is Docker, what is the use of Docker, certain terminologies about the Docker. I will share the link into the description below and you can refer it. Now the main agenda of this session is to make sure that what are the minimum configurations required to run your test cases into the Docker containers. Okay, so now we will be using the Docker Selenium project actually. So like if you are very much familiar with the Selenium, then the Selenium itself provides a kind of the Docker images, and that is kind of maintained by this docker-selenium project, and this gives you all the different images that you can use it as it is. Now think about what are the different things you need for your to run your test cases. Okay, so one thing is that you need a particular system actually where all of your projects will be there. Now the next thing that you need is kind of an environment or a Docker container that will have an operating system for sure, whether it is Windows, Linux or whatever it is there. And then you need to make sure that the specific things that is installed into that, or maybe let's say that the npm packages will be installed, the browser needs to be installed. So these are the minimum requirement, right? Now that is where actually all of your these images will provide that. So Docker Selenium really maintains all these projects. These are the images like Selenium-node Chrome. It means that it is an operating system on top of which the Chrome browser is installed, and the basic configuration for sure, Java, npm, all these things are predetermined, and that's how you were executing your Selenium test cases irrespective of Java, Node or like .NET, whatever it is there. All those prerequisites are already present into this particular image. So you can take that as it is, you can download this image and run your test cases into those Docker containers. Fine. Now let's see that how to configure it. Now the first and foremost thing is that our project. Now we have our own project ready, right? You can run npm run WDIO and it will run your test cases. We know that. Now the next thing is that we need to make sure that the Docker images are set up. It means that the Docker containers should be present on our system. Let's say that I want to run this set of test cases into a Chrome browser. Now currently I have, let's say that 110 browser version, but I want to execute on, let's say that 96 version of the Chrome browser. I cannot maintain that, right? So I can download an image which is having a Chrome version of 96. You can go to the Docker Hub, you can just mention that Selenium-node Chrome, and you will get all the images that has the Chrome browser installed. Okay, now after you have the Docker, now you need to install the Docker. That is the first thing. So Docker in this sense we call it as a Docker desktop. Now you can go to any of the browser and you can just say that download Docker desktop. Now based on your operating system it will give you to install that. Now this Docker desktop is nothing but all the containers that you will be the images that you are downloading will reside inside this particular Docker desktop. And for me the Docker desktop is already present. Let me show you that. And this is what the Docker desktop looks like. For you it might be blank for the first time. Okay, so now the next thing is that we need to download all these images. I don't want to run a specific command to first download the Node Chrome and then the Hub and then Edge browser. Now for this I can use a docker-compose file. We have already discussed that. A docker-compose file is required which you can use it, and when you run this docker compose, right, it will download all the specified images into your local system. That is what we are going to do. So now at this moment, what I'm going to do, I'll create a new folder, let's say that, and I will just say docker, and then here I will be creating a file called as a docker compose. Okay, some name you can give hub node.yml. Now the docker compose always treats as a yml file only. Now inside this I will be specifying all the docker compose related stuff. That is nothing but your the hub and node. Actually, see, Selenium grid, we want to run into a hub and node concept. Means there will be an hub, and this hub will be redirecting your test cases into couple of different browsers. Now that is why I have the hub here, and this is the basic syntax of that. And then you have all these node machines. One machine is having Chrome browser, another machine is Edge browser, another is Firefox. Okay, either you can use all these things. For now, let me show you how to download this one. Now to download this, there is a specific command that you need to use. So once you install the Docker desktop, right, there will be a kind of command line that is called as a docker space compose will be automatically installed. So I'll go to the Docker directory, because inside this project I have this Docker directory, right? There I have this file here. Now I'll say that docker, and I will say compose. This is the command that I'm using. I'll say that -f, and I will give the file name. Now I have only one file, so I can even skip this particular YML. Let's say that you have 3 to 4 different YML files are there. You need to specify which file you want to run it. Okay, so after specifying the file, then I will say up means it will download all of your images if it isn't downloaded already. Okay, and I will put another command -d, that is nothing but detached mode, and now I will press enter, and you can see that I have already downloaded these Docker images, and you can see that's why it took less time for me. And you can see that these are already in the running mode actually. And now how do I really know that? Now if you just go here, now there is a default port actually, localhost :4444, and you can see that 3 different images are now present. The hub is not visible here, but then 3 images are here, and you can see that the Chrome browser 96 is present here, but on my local system the Chrome browser version is 106. That is the benefit. If you want to run your test cases into a different browser, this is where you can utilize it. Now currently there is no sessions because I haven't run any test cases. Okay, so now that I have all the Docker images are ready, now the second thing I need to do is to make sure that my test cases are ready to execute inside the Docker. Okay, because if you see that this particular configuration, I have moved all the configuration file inside the config directory. Now if you see this default, I'll just sometime I will minimize this, and if you see that into the services section, I'm running this into a local execution, right? But to run into the Docker, we need to use the Docker service. Now if you go to this, you can just quickly search WebDriver.io Docker, and you can see here it's a third-party service that they're providing, where you have to install this particular service. Now what I'm going to do, I will install this service. This is very easy to use, so that's why I recommend to use that. So I'll just, okay, not here, maybe I will go back to my project directory, and I will say that cd dot, and then I will run this command, and this will add a dependency into my package.json. That's it. Okay, the job is done. Now I need to do certain changes into this configuration, and we already know that without changing this base configuration, I can add a new configuration also. So I'll create a new file. I'll say wdio.docker.conf.ts. I can just say this one actually here. Now inside this, the first thing is that I need to first grab the all the base configuration. So now I can say config, and I will say that from where actually, so from /, WDIO, this is my base configuration, and then I need to override the existing. So I'll now say export constant, I'll say config, okay, and then I will be assigning certain new configurations. Now here I will, because these both are same, I'll just do like this, base config, I'll do like this. And here what I'm going to do, first thing is that all these configurations I want to get it inside this. There are a lot of different ways we were seeing. Now you can see that we can import like this and we can append at the end. This is one way we have seen that. Today I'm going to show a different way. So I'll put 3 dots and you can see it is auto intelligence and asking me to really append this particular configuration or not. So this is my base configuration, and then after putting a comma I can add my own details. Now if you see the documentation, it says that I can add the services as Docker. Now let's just add this one thing only. That's it. You don't really need to do anything. So the base configuration is services Selenium standalone. This is what I want to change it. All other things I want to keep it as it is. This is the way I can do. Okay, now there are a couple of things that I need to really change it. For an instance, if you see that this capabilities holds only Chrome browser, but I want to run in Chrome, Firefox and in Edge browser as well. Let's say that. Then how do I do that? So for this I need to add some more capabilities, right? I don't want to add into this configuration. This is my local, but I can go to the Docker configuration here and I can add a couple of things. But now another thing, because this particular grid is running into the localhost 444 port, I need to specify that here as well. So let's add the required configurations here. So the first thing is that host name. Okay, I will have to give the host name, and that is nothing but local host. You can just give this local host, and then I need to specify the port. Now the port is integer, right? 4444. And let's say that I want to have max instances. Okay, max instances, let's say that up to 5 I want to run it. Okay, then I need to specify the capabilities. Okay, these capabilities in terms of an array I need to specify. Now we have already a capabilities here, right? You can see that the capability, Chrome capability, the same thing I want to add, but I want to add multiple capabilities here. Okay, for Chrome, for Firefox and for Edge, like this I want to add different things. And then the meaning of adding here is that I can have my own options here. Okay, like whatever the options here I'm providing, like here max instances is 5. Let's say that I just want to have one instance, then I can have my own. So let me copy paste those capabilities now. Okay, so as you can see that I have the Chrome capabilities, I have the Firefox capabilities also, and you can see the max instances 1 I'm giving. It means that whatever options I'm specifying here, capabilities, max instance, host name, port, services, all these things will be overridden from this base configuration file. It will first take the base configuration. On top of that, these things will be overridden. I think that is pretty much it is required, actually, all these things. Now the next thing is that we want to execute these test cases onto these two capabilities. It is pretty much similar if you would have seen in our browser stack also. We had our own configurations here and then we have triggered that. Now to trigger that, I can come back to the package.json and I can add a new script. Let's say WDIO:docker. And then here I need to specify the actual command. So I will say WDIO run under my config. What is that file that I'm using? WDIO.docker.config. This is the file that I want, right? So conf.ts. That's it. You simply need to specify this. Okay. Now to run this, what I need to do, I will just make it as clear. Clear. And I will say npm run WDIO:docker. That's it. See, my Docker desktop is ready. Let's see what are the different things that we have done so far. The first thing is that we have downloaded the Docker, right, from the Docker Compose. My Docker desktop is ready. with this particular hub and node images. The next thing, I went to the configuration and I have overridden with the existing configuration. You can see there is no change to my actual test cases. I'm not even touching them. Then I went into the package.json and added a new command just to make sure that I have a dedicated command for Docker whenever I need. And then let me run this. Now while running, you can even see these things coming back here, and you can see that here these things are coming. And if I go to these sessions, I should see, and you can see the first Chrome instance got started. And if I go inside this, I can even see the execution is happening. This is for Chrome. Now if we go back, you can see the Firefox also got started. Okay, now I think I won't have the Edge, because if you see that I don't have the capabilities set up here. Though I have downloaded the Edge image, I haven't specified that. That's why you just see two different two different images only, or the two different browsers it is executing. And you can see the details here. You can see the progress bar of this, how many test cases are running, what is that. You can come back and you can see the VNC is nothing but the the viewer, where you can see that just before we have seen, right, the browsers were popped up and then it was running the test cases. But then these browsers were not my system. My system is holding the Docker container. Inside that Docker container, the browsers are running. That is the magic it is happening. And also you can even redirect your test cases to a different machine where the Docker containers are present. The condition is that instead of localhost, you can specify that system's IP address and make sure that your system and the IP address of the another system should be in the same network. Then only it can call, or else you need to deal with proxy, firewall and all those headaches. So that is how you can run it. So the local host meaning is that it is just running into a local host. That's it. And you can see the regular test cases were run as usual. There is though one error actually you are getting here. This is not really blocking your test case execution. It says that there is some failure that happened based on the argument, and this argument is nothing but this services argument. I dig down into a couple of the knowledge repos, and I got to know that when you are using this particular service, right, service in the sense the WebDriver IO Docker service, you really need not to mention this particular Docker. Actually, you can keep these services as blank actually here. Okay, that is just one thing you need to make sure. And now if you run this, like if I run the same command, that error you won't be getting. You can see that it directly started, and this error which we got previously is not really coming here. Now you can see here one thing. When I'm clicking this for the first time, it never asked me a password. Normally by default there is a password setup whenever you want to see the live. See, it is not a recording. This video is not a recorded one. It is the live. It is running inside your Docker container. And because it didn't ask anything, I have specified here VNC no password equal to 1. If it is asking the password when you open that video or the live, the password is secret actually. You can see that. Okay, so that is how you can enter it. So don't get confused. Some of the Docker compose file you won't see this option. So it means that you have to enter an explicit password when you click on the live live session into the sessions. So that is how you can do that. And the only thing is that you need to make sure that the Docker containers were downloaded. It is up and running. How do you know that the up and running? The thing is that you have to run this command. Yeah, this command you need to run by making sure up means it is up and running. And you can come back to your Docker container. You can see these things are running. Now let's say that I made my Docker containers running. I have executed my test cases. Everything is now fine. From this grid also I got it cleared, everything. Everything is done. Now you see that these Docker containers are still running only. We can even stop it. So there are two ways. You can even go back to each and every one and then you can stop it. Or else there is another command. You can simply do like this, docker-compose and you can just say that down. So whatever the images that is running currently, that will be stopped actually. Okay, I need to go to this docker file, docker directory, and then just run that command. Okay. Oh, okay, so it means that I need to give the complete path actually. No worries. Yep, this one. So up you mentioned, right, the same thing. You just need to say down, and you can see that all the docker images were stopped. And if you, yeah, it's showing done. Yes, everything is done. You can see that first it stopped, then it removed actually from the active session, and you can see that that session is not at all available. That is completely removed from there. And if you now see this grid, it is gone, because the docker containers will be popped up and this session is active, and that's how you are running your test cases into the localhost 444 port. And that is the main beauty of using this docker selenium grid as it is. Actually, you don't really bare minimum setup that you are doing it. And now in this case, if you see that, we were using the hub and node concept here. You can see that these are hub and node. I have a hub. Now, like, to understand this one, I haven't really explained this. Now this is an hub image, okay, which acts as a master. Now this master is now registered to each machine actually. Like each node is nothing but another machine or another docker container. How exactly these things are linking? You can see that based on these two ports, bus publish port and bus subscribe port, and you can see that these two things are, this hub's actual port is 444. Now these two ports are nothing but this will determine whatever the nodes that are present should be subscribing to these two ports, 442 and 443, and that is how the hub will be connected. Now let's say, for an example, I'm downloading this particular, let's say that this docker container, okay, this Firefox container I'm downloading, and I'm not really specifying the port. I'm simply saying that the host is a Selenium hub. Now host is fine actually. Selenium hub name is nothing but this name actually. It is telling, even you can see, depends on Selenium hub. But until unless I don't attach to these ports, this hub will not be connected to this port. That is why it is essential to add these parameters actually here. Okay, and max session is 2. It is means that when you run your test cases, right, maximum into this particular container, there will be 2 browsers can be opened and ran parallelly. That is how. The reason, like, we always restrict ourselves to 2 browsers only whenever you're running parallel. See, these are containers, okay? Containers are no magics, right? They still consume your memory only, your system memory. If these containers are present into a server, still that is a machine, right? So you cannot really say that, okay, max session is 20, means that if I have 40 test cases, I will make sure that it should run parallelly, and at any instance it will be running 20 browsers. But then this node should have that capacity, like nearly 32 gigabytes of memory to RAM to hold these 20 browsers. So it is always recommended to minimize the number of max sessions whenever you are running in parallel. Okay, so that is what you just need to make sure. Okay, so if you see that this is a hub node concept we did, there is though another way actually that the Docker Selenium gives an option, a standalone browsers, actually a standalone images, I would say. So these images are nothing but, these images always gives you the hub and node together actually. It means that you don't really need to maintain 2 different images. Like, you don't need to first download the hub and then you need to download the Chrome, and then these 2 things you need to attach and run to only Chrome. Okay, so this is a traditional way. But introducing to the Selenium 4, if you guys already seen that, the W3C protocol, they have added a Selenium standalone Chrome. Means I will show you that in our upcoming sessions, but here I can have directly Selenium / this standalone Chrome, here standalone Chrome, and couple of parameters that we need to set it to make sure that we can even see the live running into the Docker. But this is kind of the way that you can use the great concept with your WDIO script. Okay, so yeah, you can give it a try by installing the Docker desktop, Docker containers, and then run your test cases. Try to see how it is executing. And the good part is that even it generates the report also here. Okay, so if you go back to here, these things, you can even see the report like reveal in Finder, and you can see this is today's date only. And then if you just open it into the Safari browser, and you can see that this test case is run. Now see here it is showing 336 test cases, but how many test cases actually I have? If you see that, let's go to this form specs example. There are 3 test cases are present inside this file, but it is showing 6. The thing is that because we ran that into these 2 containers, that is why the total number of test cases are 6, but I have made 1 test case is skipped. You can see that. That's why 4 test cases ran successfully, it become passed, these 2 got failed. So you can even get the report as well, depending on where, and you can even attach whether it is, you can see that the browser name it ran. Now the second one would have been executed in Firefox, and that's the beauty of the Allure configuration with respect to your project. You can even see that what are the different browsers it ran actually, and then you can get the output there. Okay, so hope this session would have given a complete picture of how to set up the Docker containers and running your test cases in parallel into those containers. In our upcoming session, we will see into the standalone, the standalone Docker containers. Hope this session is helpful. Stay tuned and do subscribe to this YouTube channel. We will be seeing some more interesting topics. Thank you for watching.